Welcome to Plant and Flower Slideshow 6 of 9. In this episode, I'm going to focus on winter flowers and Christmas flowers. Stay tuned for the end of the episode because I'm going to talk a little bit about wintertime arrangements and flowers, not specifically in connection with one exact species, but just some general thoughts about wintertime flowers and plants. So the first flower we have is Cymbidium orchid. Cymbidium orchids are a large orchid. The blossoms on a regular size cymbidium are anywhere from 3 to 4 inches in diameter. There's another type of cymbidium orchid called a mini cymbidium orchid, and those blossoms on those are a little bit smaller. They're about 1.5 inches to 2 inches across. Cymbidium orchids come in a huge variety of colors: pinks, oranges, lavenders, greens, yellows, tans, browns, earth tones, just a really nice variety of colors. And a regular Cymbidium orchid stem is going to retail for anywhere from $20 to $30 a stem. So florists usually sell their blossoms individually, priced out between $3 and $5 a stem, and they are available year-round. Hellebore is one of my favorite flowers because of the fact that it is the very first flower to come up in winter, actually, not even spring, at least here on the Oregon coast. And the most common colors of hellebore are lavenders and purples, as well as greenish whites. And they make a wonderful cut flower, as well as a plant, which you'll see in the following slide. Generally, they sell for around $2 or $3 a stem. I also included this image of hellebore where the flowers are on the plant so you can see what the foliage looks like. Hellebore makes a really nice living plant to send out for a gift from around mid-January through April. Veronica is a linear flower that is not only available in the wintertime, but pretty much year-round. It has long, slender, kind of like an elongated cone-shaped flowers that are lavender, blue, white, pink. Those are the different colors you can get. They run between $2 and $3 a stem. There's another flower that's kind of similar to this flower called Star of Bethlehem that I thought about including in this wintertime array of flowers, but I didn't because it's not super common. Veronica is much more widely used, and sometimes it has a real soft drapiness. Other times it's more upright. Status is a filler flower that is mostly available in purples and blue shades. White is also common. The less common colors are the oranges, pinks, and yellows. It makes a wonderful in-between flower for a dozen roses or just fall or winter arrangements. But it's usually $3 a stem. Now I'm switching gears and going to talk about the evergreens that are most commonly used in the winter or Christmas time, starting with Douglas fir or Doug fir, which is super abundant here where we live. It has a little bit more open and airy needle configuration than the next slide that you're going to see, which is noble fir. It is very fragrant, very long-lasting, and just wonderful to use at Christmas time. Noble fir is a great evergreen to use at Christmas time or around the holidays because its densely packed needles cover a lot of space in a foam piece, whether you're making a basket arrangement or a Christmas centerpiece. Noble fir really fills in the empty spaces very quickly. It also is beautiful in vase arrangements, and it dries pretty good too. As it gets older, it doesn't drop its needles as quick as some other types of Christmas greens and evergreens. Pine is another very popular greenery during the holidays, and I don't know which one this is, but it is great for vase arrangements as well as wreaths and baskets and centerpieces, and it smells wonderful. And a lot of times it has the little pine cones on it, which is absolutely wonderful. Very fragrant. So I went from cut flowers to greenery and evergreens commonly used in the wintertime. Now we are switching gears yet again to plants that are commonly sold in the winter or at Christmas time. The first one here is Norfolk pine. This is a great little tree or house plant to send out at Christmas time when someone maybe wants to send a nice gift to a loved one. And a lot of times what I'll hear is, oh, they don't have room for a Christmas tree, so I want to send them something that's, you know, reminiscent of a Christmas tree. I love the Norfolk pine for that purpose. It's a beautiful houseplant, does well indoors in medium light if it's given enough water. And it doesn't really have that cone shape that a Christmas tree does, but it certainly gives the feel of a Christmas tree. Christmas cactus. What a charming plant to send around Christmas time. These are actually in the succulent family, and they typically bloom around Christmas, so that's kind of how they got their name. They like bright indoor light, but not direct sunlight, so that makes them a perfect house plant. You can get them in a variety of different colors, whites, reds, pinks, I want to say magenta, nearing lavender purple, but not quite. I've never seen them that color. Oranges, and generally the ones that we sell at the shop run between $40 and $60, depending on how fancy of a container that they come in. Amaryllis is a magnificent flower that is commonly sold around Christmas time. These trumpet-shaped blooms come 4 blossoms to a stem. Each blossom faces a different direction. And you commonly see them sold in 3 different ways. Number 1 would be as a cut flower in Christmas time arrangements. Number 2 would be as a single bulb that has been forced in a vase that allows the roots to go down and the flower to put out the stem and the bulb. And that's a real common way you'll see them, where they don't have any potting soil or anything, just the roots going down into a vase of water and then the plant on top of it. And then the final way that you'll see them is planted in soil with a bow, and sometimes we'll add a little Christmas greens around the edges to dress it up. And they typically run $40 to $60 as a living plant in that way. As a cut flower, they'll run around $10 a stem. Last but certainly not least, poinsettia, the queen of Christmas time flowers. Love this plant. Poinsettias or poinsettias, however you prefer to pronounce it, is a fantastic choice of a flower or houseplant at Christmas time because as a cut flower, poinsettia blossoms last so long. I did an experiment 2 Christmases ago and put one in a vase of water. After Christmas, I had a couple plants left over, and so I put a couple stems in a vase of water, and they lasted well into the end of January. So that's like one of the longest vase lives of any cut flower that I've ever known. So they work really well in a vase arrangement with Christmas greens and different flowers, pine cones, ribbon, all dressed up. But they are also a very traditional plant to send at Christmas time. And in warmer climates, they'll grow into a big, beautiful plant in the outdoors. And the cut flowers generally I'll sell for about $6 a stem. And as a plant, they will vary in price between usually $40 to $60 for the smaller ones, and then $60 to $80 for the medium, and like $80 on up for the large ones as plants, depending on how fancy of a pot they're in. Like I said, I'm adding a few thoughts here at the end of the Christmas or winter flower slideshow. And what I want to talk about is in the wintertime, you switch gears from an abundance of flowers to actually very few flowers. And so the emphasis is on the greenery, the pine and the cedar and the fir and the fragrant smelling greens that are so abundant in our locale, our corner of the world. And so you have all these wonderful Christmas greens and wintertime greens, and you use less flowers, more greens and hard goods like pine cones, candles, gold balls, gold, silver, red, green balls, ribbon, cinnamon sticks. So you kind of change gears from relying more on flowers to the evergreens and the hard goods. And what you will find is it takes a lot more time to make winter and Christmas pieces because it takes a long time to deal with the evergreens, stripping the needles off the branches and so on. And so you charge a little bit more for the greens and the labor in the wintertime than you do in the spring, summer, and fall, because you're going to spend a little bit more time making centerpieces, wreaths, and basket pieces, and even vases. And so you're relying on the beauty of the evergreens, less so on the flowers. Although in the wintertime, you're relying mostly on 5 primary flowers, which would be roses, lilies, alstroemeria, carnations, and chrysanthemums. And that's okay because those flowers are abundantly grown in South America where it's summer, and they are cheaply imported into the US. And so people have negative ideas about those particular flowers, but they serve a purpose in the wintertime. And then when it comes to be spring, summer, and fall, we switch gears back into promoting local and more, locally grown flowers. So, okay, that's it for slideshow 6. Hope you enjoyed.